I promised myself that I'm gonna develop myself every day, so I don't have one person in my life who will come and tell me I'm gonna replace you.
Seif El Hakim, ex-Chief Marketing Officer of Samsung and professional athlete turned serial entrepreneur. Since leaving the corporate world, he has dedicated his life to helping entrepreneurs level up their mindset and businesses, winning Entrepreneur of the Year in the process. It's interesting when you move abroad because you're not a native and you're not a local.
Yeah.
So you're in that red zone of you don't belong anywhere.
Exactly.
And I think that is an example of where you develop personally the fastest.
Discipline, 100%. Consistency. Practice. I never stop practicing. I used to exercise 3 times a day because I want to be the greatest.
What was it like in Moscow?
If I lose, you already humiliated me, I'll it. But if I win, you resign.
Did she resign?
She resigned. Why the alpha? Because I'm the alpha.
I've got a quick favour to ask you. Nearly 90% of people listening to this podcast right now don't follow or subscribe to us. And my goal is to get that down to 80%. So if you've ever liked an episode or a clip that we've put out, please could you click that follow or subscribe button. It helps us more than you know to bring more guests onto the podcast and put out better and better content for you. Thank you. Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a second to speak about our sponsor, Pith Stem, who we are thrilled to have on this journey with us. As someone who is always looking for ways to improve my healthy hustle, Pith Stem's DropTop desk stood out to me as the best full work-from-home solution on the market. The world of work from home is changing, and a laptop or screen perched on your lap or dining room table isn't enough anymore. It's imperative that we have a solution at home that matches our productivity station that we can have in our office. But of course, homes weren't made to be worked in, and not all of us want a dedicated study. That's why I'm so happy that Pith Stem created this perfect solution. They designed this desk with both the needs of the professional and their home in mind. It's perfect because it allows me to have a full productivity station that suits my needs and helps me get the most out of every minute that I spend at it, not only so I work comfortably, but that I actually enjoy it. And the best thing about DropTop, I can close and lock it at the end of the day to keep work and home separate. And it looks awesome on the wall. You can get your DropTop desk anywhere in the world from pithandstem.com or just Google DropTop and you'll find it pretty quickly. Now, let's get on to today's guest. Lots of successful entrepreneurs that I speak to have a background in individual sports, martial arts. So I want to start off by talking to you about Kung Fu. What did you learn from Kung Fu? When did you start? What was your journey like?
It's one of the best things that happened in my life. I wish I still do Kung Fu. It taught me a lot, and I believe it made me who I am now. Couple of things: discipline, 100%, consistency, practice. I never stop practicing. I used to exercise 3 times a day because I want to be the greatest. And the most important thing, to love challenges. So like we face challenges day in, day out. Who survive is the one who face challenges. Martial arts not teaches you, embed this in you. I love a challenge, give me a challenge. And I never back down. Like, let's try. That's Kung Fu, 100%.
What age did you start Kung Fu?
Oh my God. Until university, so count 10 years back.
Wow, okay. Is it big in Egypt?
It is.
Really?
It is.
So where did you get to in your Kung Fu career?
National team, country champion, like all this country champion, city champion, and national team. And then I stopped because a particular cause that I had to study. Because at that time, period of my life, I had nothing else I do except I train. You know, to be a professional sportsman, you do nothing except training. I literally could train 3 times a day. So school for me was, I just was studying to pass. But there is a moment, or I would say, a complete change in my life for a particular incident that made me, I had to leave sports and completely study. But it is the period of my life which built my character. That 100%, that I never back down. I never give up. You can punch me as much as you want, but wait for me when I stand back up. And that's martial arts.
This is what I'm really interested in. So when I was growing up, I've always played team sports, played rugby and football. And I think looking back, I missed out on the skills that an individual sport, especially a contact sport or a sport where losing is going to physically hurt.
True.
I think there's a lot that you can learn from that. So I'm interested in hearing from your point of view, what you think it taught you. Obviously discipline and having to progress and learn, but what was the maybe intangibles that it taught you?
I'll tell you one thing which is extremely important. To love pain. Pain in a perspective of, in our daily life, we face pain in a form or another. Some people take it, and some people, the pain breaks them. Being in an individual martial arts, give me the pain, and I mean pain, you can break my leg, you can break my arms, but I'm gonna stand up again. So take this pain and move forward. Take this pain and move forward. That's a lesson that I don't believe any kind of sports or a life experience can teach you besides martial arts. Hit me. I broke my nose, I broke my legs, but that didn't stop me. I stand back up.
I think I really like that, because a lot of the time, entrepreneurs that we speak to, they talk about that you must get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's how you grow, right?
True.
So that's where I think martial arts is a massive factor in a lot of these people's journeys. How important do you think sports is in developing you as a young character?
When I have a kid, he will do a professional sports. Because it builds the character, it builds the mindset. Then we add on its skills when we grow. But sports, what can build discipline better than sports? What can build? Train that time, eat at this quantity, this type of food. Train every day, rest now, sleep. Consistency, practice. What we fail these days is the amount of practice that we put in things. So you can do one thing, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, and then you say there is no result. So you quit, or you pivot, do something else, and you do the same story, 1, 2, 3, 10, and then no results. With sports, if I don't do 100 times, I'm gonna get knocked out. And I don't wanna get knocked out. So it teaches you the power of practice. The 1,000 hours, it teaches you, I'm gonna do practice, even if I hate it. There are type of trainings I hate it, but I had to do it, because without it, I'm gonna fail and I'm gonna lose. And martial arts doesn't allow you to fail, because failing in martial arts, in a way, it's a humiliation. You understand? It's complete. You're knocked out. You're completely destroyed in front of, at that age, it's in front of your family, and you don't want to be like that.
It's almost a form of pressure, isn't it? Whenever I hear about or talk about practice, I always think about school, and one of my PE teachers, this is a throwback, he used to talk about practice makes permanent, not perfect. You have to be right in the beginning or on the journey, otherwise you just become permanently good at whatever it was you're practicing, whereas of course we want to get perfect, we want to get better. So that 1,000 hours, if I practice the wrong thing,
100%,
I'll be a mile off.
100%.
I can start wrong and I can be directionally correct and get there. Do you think you knew in your teen years how important discipline was going to be in your life?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I like the idea first of knocking people's face.
Why?
Because I had an incident when I was a kid. I was in this sports club and I was trying to protect a child. In a way, people thought that I'm hitting that child. And it's absolutely, I was protecting him from something. And maybe 10, 15 people just collected on me and in a way kicked my ass off. And I said, this will never happen again. So I wanted to train martial arts. I tried karate, kung fu, taekwondo. I started until I went to kung fu because it's an absolute natural way of fighting. There is no karate, you have rules. Taekwondo, you don't have wrestling. Every kung fu is a full contact martial arts. So I went through this and I fell in love. I'm saying I wish I'd go back and have the time to practice it again.
You said you stopped when you got to a certain age and you decided to study. Talk me through that decision.
Martial arts created my character, right? Which is, I love challenges. And I always have something that inside of me when somebody try to attack me in a way, inside of me, I say, watch me. And that's the theme of the book. At that time, I told you I was practicing Kung Fu like day and night. And I had a cousin, similar age. So I used to study with her just before the exam to make me pass. I just want to pass the exam. And one moment or one day before the exams, I have an aunt, which is absolutely my mother. She just came, she cares about her daughter. She said like, why are you wasting time with this idiot? Man, I don't know what happened. Just shut down, absolute shutdown. I turned off, and you know, it's an aunt, it's a family member, so you can't respond. So you have anger inside of you, you're being humiliated in a way, and you have all these kind of emotions, and you cannot respond. My only response was, watch me. I quit sports. I quit seeing my friends. I quit everything. I studied like crazy. And I passed, and I became top of the school, went to the best university, scholarship, from an absolute nobody in studying. That was a turning point in my life. And I'm grateful that it happened, because the trajectory of my life completely changed.
So you've got a lot to give to that aunt, right?
Absolutely.
It's interesting because you're a very highly qualified guy, right? So you've got a degree in engineering, MBA, you've been to MIT. Yeah. Did you think you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely not.
So at what point did you realize, after all the studying, in fact, I won't ask that question because that's when I talk about that later on, actually. Yeah. I want to talk about the studying part of your life. So for a start, why did you decide to go into studying? Why did you think, I'm going to become an employee? And why did you not think you were going to work for yourself?
At that time, okay, I'm a 40 years old guy. At that time, if you go back 20 years, now it's I would say fashionable to say that you are an entrepreneur. Okay, so culturally, fashionable. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my business. I run my. Even if your business is just sitting online and selling on e-commerce, right? 20 years back, being an entrepreneur meaning you're nobody. Okay, so you culturally not accepted. Like you're entrepreneur means you don't have a job. So in the culture, it's you're nobody. And culturally, you need to have a job. You need to work your ass off. You need to do this and that. So I was in this type of environment. So I didn't even think I need to have my own business. It was not even on my map. Absolutely. I knew that I'm gonna go to engineering university. After, I'm gonna join, it's a plan, you know, like I'm gonna join the best operator in Egypt. And then, and trust me, I had no plans for this. I didn't know. So when somebody say I have plan, I said like, good luck with you. Your plans will change 100%. And even I didn't have a plan to leave Egypt. I was super comfortable. I finished university. I joined one of the best operators in the country. And I was super happy there. I was superstar, did everything in my comfort zone, around my friends, around my family. Everything was perfect. And I knew where I'm going. And also another thing happened that challenged me, made me step outside of my comfort zone. Another time, I had to leave my country. I had no intentions. But again, I'm grateful for it. Super grateful. Because I don't know if you know this incident. I was working in this operator, and at that time we had a family friend that told me like, Seif, Samsung globally is looking for entrepreneurs or leaders, global leaders for the future. So they're making panel interviews, trying to select one person from the Middle East and North Africa to go to South Korea and blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm not interested. I don't know what is Samsung. I know Sony. That time, literally. What is South Korea? I know Japan. I said like, okay, give it a trial. So I went. Just to make it very quick, I was sitting in a room with 15 people and I was working. So I wanted to go back to my job. So I look at the lady and I tell her the PA. So I said, look, I need to leave. When is my interview? She said like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Egypt. She said like, oops, okay, you can leave now. Anyways, you're an Egyptian. You guys are lazy. You will not win. You feel like you're in a movie. I kept looking around myself, like the people, did you hear what she said?
Yeah.
It was to me. And, you know, again, being a martial art fighter, I'm always ready to respond quickly. Reflexes. So I said, hold on here. I had no intentions in front of everybody sitting here. I had no intentions to go, where are you from? Absolutely. But since you said this, let's make a deal. If I lose, you already humiliated me, I'll suck it. But if I win, you resign. She accepted, I win, and I go to Korea. Had no plans.
Did she resign?
She resigned.
No way.
Yeah, literally.
So this is what I'm really interested in, right? I'm glad you took the story here anyway, because I can really resonate with that. So both of my parents were in the police in the UK. I wasn't surrounded by any entrepreneurs. Some of my uncles had their own businesses, but at that age, you don't know what that means. They just work for themselves, whatever. Went to uni because that was what everyone did.
Yeah.
Got a job with one of the best operators because that's what everyone did. And you're fighting other people who are doing the same thing, just being like, who should I go and work for?
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because some people really know from a young age, I'm going to start a business doing this. And maybe more so in this day and age because social media allows them to see.
True.
But even, 10 years ago, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had no one around me that was doing that. And so I can completely relate to what you're talking about,
100%.
even though it was slightly earlier than me and it was a different perspective.
But literally, at that time, entrepreneurship was like, you are nobody.
Yeah.
Literally, you are a jobless person. Or you're acting that you're working. You understand? Like I have my own business. Really? Which company do you work for? It didn't exist.
Exactly. And then you were touching on there as well about moving countries. Like I did a similar thing where at uni, I saw that everyone else, we were talking about earlier, thinking differently. I went to uni and I was like, everyone's just at uni. How can I stand out? And they did this thing where you can go and do an exchange program. And so I went to France to do an exchange program. And I just wanted to have some sort of edge over other people. But what I thought was interesting about that is that once you go away and you're looking back towards your country, you realize that you don't need to be there.
True.
The world is a massive place.
True.
And now, both of us find ourselves in Dubai and we're like, hang on, we're both a long way from where we grew up.
100%, yeah.
And you realize the world's a lot bigger than maybe you thought it was. So I think that's a really interesting point. And I want to pick up then from when you got to South Korea, right? So you went to South Korea, you worked in things like product, and the journey is incredible to where you got to. But what was it like when you first got there?
The plane landed, everybody was going towards passport control. I wanted to go back to the plane.
Okay.
I didn't want to stay. 6 months after, I didn't want to go back home.
That was quick.
Yeah, because I saw how much I developed. If you can really reflect and analyze where you are, self-reflection, you will literally do a lot of things in your favor. 6 months after, I didn't want to go back. I started doing my MBA, started working with Samsung, and I started communicating with different people from different countries. So I became a multinational, learned a lot of cultures, understood how things are really different. And I'm developing myself at a much faster pace at my peers back home. And when I talk about my peers, I talk about my close friends. So even when I give them a call, the level of conversation, they're here and I'm here. Not out of arrogance, but out of development. So after 6 months, I didn't want to go back. Then I started working with Samsung, started progressing in Samsung in headquarters. I worked in product, then I worked in sales and marketing. And came the time, literally, that HR called me and said, Seif, it's time to go back to Egypt. I didn't want to go. It's finished. I saw how I progressed. I saw how my growth was. The moment of time when you're proud about yourself. I was super proud. Because it's not about comparison, but you benchmark. I was in Egypt here. Now I'm here. I don't want to go back now. I'm still hungry for more. So I was sitting with HR. I said, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I know my contract says I need to go back. I said, I'm not going anywhere. All the VPs, whatever, here in Samsung want Seif to be. I was superstar at the time. I was doing my job properly. The guy said, again, the second thing, he said, Seif, put your ego down a little bit. I can replace you with an empty chair in 2 seconds. Another shower. Replace what? And from that time, literally, I developed myself every day. And I promised myself, when I promised myself, it is done. I promised myself that I'm gonna develop myself every day, so I don't have one person in my life will come and tell me I'm gonna replace you. I'm gonna be always adding value where I am. Either it's a business, it's a relationship, it's a partnership, it is. So nobody will tell me you will be replaced.
We talked about earlier about the importance of sort of getting outside your comfort zone, right? And it's interesting when you move abroad because you're not a native and you're not a local.
Yeah.
So you're in that red zone of you don't belong anywhere.
Exactly.
And I think that is an example of where you develop personally the fastest.
True.
Because in Dubai, for example, everyone's developing a lot. The ones who are running businesses and the ones that are in senior positions in businesses, they're just working so much different to everyone else. You talk to someone from back home or wherever they might be, and because you're not in that almost pressure cooker of things going on, that tumble dryer, you can see yourself getting away from them, and the conversations start to become stale because they're not thinking on the same level of you, 100%. And you've got to then talk. You've got to then allow yourself to not patronize people, not keep information from them when you could help them. I think that's a really interesting point, and it's very prevalent in what you're talking about when you went to Korea, because I imagine the difference in you, like you said, from the first time you got there to the 6 months time compared to your friends and your family in Egypt was just unbelievable. So when you got to the point of you're going to leave, or you would like to leave South Korea, where did you go next?
Moscow.
What was it like in Moscow? Because another culture shock, right?
Yeah, another culture shock, another shower. You know why? Because at that time, my ego was very high. I'm an international staff, working in headquarters, having my dual MBA degree. What else do you need? Then you come to Russia, absolutely different culture. And then I remember the first day I came in and I said to my boss, hello, this is Seif from headquarters. He said, oh, good. Do you see this laptop over there? Go sit over there. Change the graph from red to yellow. I don't like red, make it yellow. At that moment, I thought that my career is destroyed because I didn't want to go back to Egypt. But my choice made me go to another angle, another direction. But when I went to this direction, I will make a PPT PowerPoint, colored, with all the credentials that I have. And I thought I'm done. I need to find a smart way how I can. And of course I managed in a way, because I didn't want to go back, because I still believed that my international experience is more valuable than I just go back. So I was in a corner that I need to make my boss believe in my capabilities to give me more responsibilities and authorities to prove myself. So I started challenging him. Not in a bad way, in a good way.
Thinking differently.
Absolutely. I start to see where are the black spots or holes in the business. And I told him, if I made this, since nobody's focusing on it, the result sucks. If I made it happen, you need to give me this. Not monetary responsibilities more. And I did it, and I did it, and I did it for 10 years. Until I reached the CMO position at my age, which in Samsung culture as a corporate, nobody was promoted every year. It's a 3 years, you change the band, you change the title, the games of the corporate. I was the one changing bands year by year. And it made it happen.
So you became Chief Marketing Officer of Samsung, right, for Russia, or for the CIS region. Yeah, it's a big region.
$3 billion turnover.
Exactly. So it's massive, right? At a young age, probably one of the youngest CMOs in the world of a corporate, multinational. What were your frustrations with corporate life? Because Samsung headquarters South Korea, very forward thinking. I'm assuming this based on what I've learned, but there's still frustrations for a lot of people in the corporate world, even though if you think about your career, where you'd have got to over time. So what were those frustrations for you?
One of them, again, I'll go back to martial arts. One of the key things in martial arts is that you need to be adaptable. So if you try to throw a punch You don't knock out the person in front of you. You need to change your approach. It's been like this with me since. So I joined corporate. I see all the problems, the frustrations. Waste of time. Always on meetings. Long decision-making process. All these lovely things. Correct? Then okay, let me try to play with the results, the value that I add. So I always had very strong, I can navigate any corporate political situations. My network of allies, so I built a network of allies inside of regional headquarters and headquarters of Samsung in South Korea. So I built allies that support me in whatever I do because I deliver results. So whatever I want to do is like, I'll do this for you and you do this for me. And I'll prove it with results. And the results were making Samsung the #1 smartphone in the market. Making Samsung the #1 premium smartphone in the market overtakes Apple. And. I was able to navigate the corporate structure, the political system, by bringing value before I ask for anything. So whatever it happens to my bosses, the president and so on, Seif will handle it. We have a problem, Seif will handle it.
And what do you think the people that were not being promoted as fast as you were missing? Because you touched there on something that you are big on now, which is community and network. What do you think they were doing that you could see was wrong, or that you were able to do better than them?
It depends on the ambitions of people. When I entered Samsung Russia, I said I'm going to sit on the top of the pyramid. I knew where I'm going. I just needed to put the work smartly to reach this. I see people in the same position for 7 years. I remember by names, sitting in the same place 7 years. They're just happy with the security. In order to grow, you need to have some turbulence, to make some turbulence. So I was that type of guy doing turbulence. I'm the risk taker. I'm the one that jumps in for opportunities, even if it's not my role. Even if it's another division, I'll handle it for you. I was the one proactive in doing anything for the sake of getting to my goal and, of course, helping the company grow. Other people are, I'm just sitting doing according to my R&R. This is my roles and responsibilities, I'll do this. My R&R was times 10, that's what I do. Others are just status quo. Security.
It's funny because when I came out of university, again, I was like, I need to do a master's because that's going to stand me apart from everyone else. So I thought little things will maybe be different. And in my first corporate role, I started to look for new jobs when on the same day we had a corporate head office party for 2 ladies that had been there for 40 years doing the same role. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm
True.
You know,
that's why we started with ambitions. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a job and loving what you do and actually living for life, not for work. It's cool. But for me, I was, 22, 23, and I just thought that I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit at the same desk and be known as, the guy that does this for a long time. And I think you're right. There's ambition and there's also almost vision of like, what else can I do?
True.
Maybe it's changing again. Some of the things that are just wild in terms of data is the amount of people that change their jobs between the age of sort of 27 and 32. Because we get to that point, we get to that point where there's a lot of pressure on being 30. People start to go, I have to do something. Maybe they haven't got as far as they thought they would by that time. Everyone thinks mid to late 20s, you're going to have achieved greatness.
Exactly.
And not a lot of people do actually. So they start to look at other things. And I think that for me was the part where I was like, wow, okay, it's time to do something. I actually went to another corporate because I thought that was the answer, but
no,
it's not necessarily. But you've got to learn, right? You've got to make mistakes.
I just want to briefly interrupt this podcast so I can talk to you about Nutrition Kitchen, who have kindly sponsored this episode. As entrepreneurs who are looking to stay as healthy as possible, fueling ourselves with high quality food without breaking the bank or wasting time can be tough day to day. Nutrition Kitchen solves that issue by delivering incredible meals to your door, tailored to your diet, whether you're trying to lose weight, build muscle, or maintain balance. They change their menus all the time so you can choose from a variety of dishes and leave the monotony of meal prepping behind. Now, back to our guest.
I'm really interested in the CMO role,
Yeah.
marketing for that company, the budgets that you must have had, the information, the data scientist, everything you would have had. And actually, I can see that you're using a lot of it now in the marketing you do for your own businesses. What do you think people are doing wrong in terms of marketing today?
A very nice question. First of all, the first time I got asked this question, but marketing changed a lot. My time of marketing with Samsung, yes, we're learning a lot of big budgets, like 20, for example, 20 mil to 30 mil a month. Huge. But we were focusing on company. Like at that time, companies were the face. Corporate promotions and. Nowadays, it's totally different. It's more about the person stand behind the company. So they have to come out from the shadow to be the front. So it's, again, like more of a personal branding. It's not more about Tesla now, it's about Elon Musk. It's not about Amazon, it's about Bezos. My era of Samsung was the company, the branding of the company, the. Now, you can't, because going Gen Z, Gen Alphas, all these generations, they don't resonate anymore with companies. They fall in love with people. They resonate more with people. So that's one of the main shifts. And of course, mistakes before was you're putting a lot of money in channels that you cannot analyze, which now the digital overtaken 100%.
I see, okay.
So at that era that you were spending money on radio, spending money on TV, spending a lot of money on outdoor, where you can, I'm not gonna say hard to analyze or to check the efficiency, but now these days it's switching to digital. Even the outdoor now, it's digital outdoor.
I think it's a great point. It's a great point that the personal brand has become massive, and maybe we'll see it go full circle, because when everyone's got a personal brand, no one has.
Exactly.
So maybe we'll see a change back, but at the minute it's definitely a
it
raw.
depends. Okay, it depends on the people, the generations. Like now, Gen Z and Gen Alphas, they literally don't generate with companies, literally. Or if they resonate with companies, they're not loyal to these companies. They're loyal to personalities. They're loyal to the people that stand behind the companies and the values and the missions and. How the generations will go, I don't think it will go back to companies. It's gonna be more
AI.
More AI, of course, but you can see the emotional curve is going higher and higher. Like, you didn't have a strong attachment to a brand called Samsung as an emotional, okay? It's, yes, was most preferred brand, all the KPIs of the marketing was high, but as an emotional attachment was not there. Was with Steve Jobs. Forget about Apple, it was Steve Jobs. And we're going from there and getting deeper the attachment to people. Where it's gonna go after?
It's a great point, actually. I was going to say, when you were running the marketing for Samsung, personal branding maybe wouldn't have worked because it's a different generation, but it did work. It was just probably harder, because Steve Jobs is a great example.
True.
Just a lot harder, and he probably stood out as maybe people didn't buy Apple because of him, but they knew him. So I'm actually really interested in how did you position Samsung in that region to get people to buy Samsung over Apple? I don't. That's such a hard thing to do. Maybe they weren't as different at the time.
Yeah. I love a book called The Art of War.
Okay.
Okay. And in order to compete with a giant like Apple, you need to start small. So started to occupy the small regions. So I started to occupy the small regions, which is high density of people, start to getting the market share, start getting the cash flow up. And then when the time I came, I had to attack the big cities, I created a new product line. And this product line was introduced in, as I remember, 12 countries. And I had to compete with Apple. Apple at that time is the premium. So I had to create a new line, premium. So I named it Galaxy Black Edition. that time also black was known as the elite, the luxury. So a complete product, new product. It's the same Galaxy, different packaging, different like the sleeve, the cover, everything is black, super material. The software is different, it's black. And I get head to head with Apple. And that time I had the money, I had the market share. So I was ready to fight.
So it's really interesting what you're talking about there. And it makes me think of Tesla now, because what you said you did was you went to the smaller markets, you must dominate the smaller markets. And then when you go for the jugular of Apple in maybe the bigger areas, you've got that foundation, that base of, well, everyone else who I'm looking around is using it. And it's similar to Tesla, because if you look at what Tesla and Elon Musk have done, they haven't really gone after the car market. They've dominated the charging market.
True.
If you look at the map of where the chargers are and the best chargers and the infrastructure, all Tesla.
Of course. Yeah.
So even if you buy a BMW or whatever, you're going to charge it at a Tesla charger because it's
Exactly.
quicker, it's better. And then ultimately you're going to go, just get a Tesla because I get discounts. And it's a similar thing, right? They've gone for the absolute bottom of the mountain. Everyone's looking to the top, they look to the bottom. It's a similar thing. It's a really cool way of looking
You
at
need
it.
to build, like if you need to fight, you need to build a foundation. How to build a foundation is get mass. The mass supports you. And that's what Tesla did. And that's what the strategy, the art of war.
Like the Roman Empire, isn't it?
Exactly.
Dominate the bottom. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's awesome. I really want to talk to you about. We want to touch on it slightly, but I want to go into a bit further. That point when you were CMO of Samsung in Russia, or the CIS region. When did you go, I'm going to become an entrepreneur? What was that? I mean, for a start, how old were you? What happened? Talk me through that couple of months where you decided I'm going to make a change now.
It looks like I got addicted to exit my comfort zone. I have an addiction. Once I feel I'm relaxed, maybe it's something wrong. But I get addicted. I just want to exit my comfort zone. And it flips in my head. Fortunately, when I was in Samsung, I was always trying my hand in entrepreneurship. I'm running my supplement line, importing and exporting, clothes, even like cross-country trading. I was always trying. For the sake of I'm gonna be an entrepreneur? No, because I saw myself as a top of the ladder of a corporate company. But it was like, no, why not? Additional thing. So I was always testing. And then came the time that I felt, like when you're doing your rolls with your small finger. And it became so boring. I'm doing the same thing. I'm launching a TV campaign. I'm making an activation. I'm looking at the KPIs. I'm looking at the reach. It's done. So I wanted to leave. So what were my options? I went Apple, Huawei, all the big brands in electronics. No, because it's a lateral movement. I wanted growth. Then the time came, okay, let me jump off the boat. But I again, because a lot of people say like, I'm jumping off the boat like an idiot, like entrepreneurs. No, I was well planned to jump off the boat. I was financially good. My skills were very good. So I was ready to jump. But the jump wasn't easy at all. Because I jumped and I joined my family business. And at that moment, when you're a CMO of a blue chip company, your ego is not just hitting the ceiling, is bypassing the ceiling. So you think that you are, whatever you put your hands on, it turns to gold. So I moved to my family business and I thought the same. It's the same Seif who did this massive success over there, can do a massive success anywhere. And I had a terrible experience as an entrepreneur. I had, let's say, a year hell because I lost the confidence in myself. What made me strong, I was super confident in myself and I believe I can do anything, regardless, I know it or not, but I know I will achieve the result. That's a belief. When I switched and becoming an entrepreneur and running small mid-sized company, it's an absolutely totally different ball game. Because when you're in a blue chip, whatever you want at a CMO position, I just text, shout, write an email, and it happens. Being an entrepreneur, you do everything with your own hands. And I was not used to this. And when you're not used to this, you have also different caliber type. The people recruited in Samsung, top caliber. And the people recruited in a family-owned business, I'm not going to say they're not a caliber, but a different level and skill set. So, oh my God, what should I do? The results sucked. Everything was crap. I couldn't do anything. And the story that I always say is, I remember the time that I woke up in the middle of the night. I literally didn't know who I am. From total confidence and total belief in myself that I can turn anything to gold, literally, to an absolute failure. Lost the confidence in myself. The self-doubt is unbelievable. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I look in the mirror. I see the person who's me, a person that I don't know. But that person is whispering at me, Seif, go back to corporate. Your place is in corporate. You were kicking ass in corporate. Go back again. And then the time came that I remembered my mother, the people that rely on me, and I threw a vase on the mirror and I said, I don't want to see this person anymore. And here where I took my personal development to an absolute different level. An absolute different level. Learn from mentors, coaches, courses, but not just learning and implementing. Learning and implementing and failing and falling and standing up and failing and falling and standing up until I make it.
I think it's really important to hear someone, especially someone who's successful, talk about their journey of learning, of adaptation, of failure. My position is that I always want to be the student. You know, I never want to position myself as the guru. And I feel that in a similar way in you, right? You're like, I'm always going to develop. I'm always going to be, you know, someone not the cleverest in the room, happy to learn from other people. And I think that's endearing. And I think it helps people to lean into you and go, I could.
The child mind.
Exactly, yeah. It's almost like the same way we spoke about marketing. People are almost repelled by the person who thinks they're an expert.
Yeah.
Because you can't earn the expert title.
And once you position yourself as an expert, you're done.
Exactly.
You're done.
Can't grow.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Listen, I'm glad we spoke about your whole story. The thing that I know you most for now is the nickname and the company you have, which is the Alpha.
Yeah.
The Alpha movement. I'd love to hear from you what inspired you to start that, because I think the personal development side of it is really, really powerful. And I've heard you speak about it before of just what it means to you.
When COVID hit, I was not a super online person. First of all, when I was in Samsung, I was a black box. Like, I'm doing my job, off the radar, thank you very much. Then when I moved to my family business, my online access was like super limited. Then COVID hit, then I start to look at things in a totally different perspective. I have the time. So I start to look and start to feel, sometimes I say disgusted, pity for people, where they're literally not feeling, living their full potential. It's an absolute. Guys, I was a guy from Egypt. I didn't speak English, not because I was not in an English school, because I'm not a studying person. So I didn't manage to travel abroad, push my limits, being a man, not in a gender perspective, but doing things, reaching head of corporate, an entrepreneur. That means I fulfilled in a way my potential up to this moment, and still more to come. But at COVID, I start to see people just looking at other people, comparing themselves, lazy, not doing anything. What did you do? I just watched 8 episodes of Netflix. Excuse me. 8 episodes of what? Literally, scrolling the phone. I hate this thing. Literally, people are just burning their age. You understand? Like, you have like, okay, you're 30 to 70, you're burning 50 years by just scrolling. Why don't you live your potential? So I started to create what is called the Alpha movement, to really help people to live their potential, develop themselves in different areas like the entrepreneurship, leadership, personal branding, mindset. I work a lot with mindset. And why the Alpha? Because I'm the Alpha. in a sense of not the bad way or the bad meaning of the alpha, which is the egocentric, the selfish, the controlling behavior, and. It is the modern way of the traits of the alpha, which are, well, I'd like to say it, it's like we don't have a stop button. We're obsessed of our goals, obsessed about our objectives. We don't stop. When you tell me what is success to you, it's what's next? What is next? What is next? And of course, the modern traits are the person who takes the tough decisions, the person who's fiercely determined, persistent, respectful of the people, influential, impactful, responsible of the people around, the loved ones. These are all the traits of a proper alpha. And it's not a gender thing. It's a male and a female. There is a male alpha and a female alpha.
So that's interesting. I really you've described that in a really good way, because when I hear the alpha, I think of, the gym bro who's an extrovert, is super confident. They think they're everything. And I look at the world of business or who I want to become, and not necessarily I would want to become these people, but you look at the people who've got the biggest businesses in the world, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and I don't see the word alpha around them. But you've actually described it in a different way than I think people would assume.
True.
Right? So you're actually saying they're just trying to look beyond what has been done before, think differently.
Exactly.
Right? And personally develop. Is that fair to say?
If I'll ask you something.
Go on.
I'm an alpha. Do I have fears? Do I fear? An alpha by name, a person that doesn't fear, right? Then that's not human. Right? An alpha is a human. I have fears. Absolutely, I have fears as a human. But what's different for an alpha, I have fear, yes, but I never doubt myself and my abilities to get the result I want, though the fear exists. So the alphas are humans.
Yeah, and you're still big on accountability, learning, community. Yeah, that's actually a really, really interesting position to take. I really like that. What is the greatest challenge that you think people face when they come to you or they join, your sort of movement? What's their issue?
What I literally see, majority of the people, they lack, like everybody talk about mindset and they forget about the skill set. So you can't have a proper mindset and you don't have the skill set. So when we need to talk about both. You need to have the proper mindset and the proper skill set. People lack the minimum requirements for the mindset.
Okay.
The discipline, the consistency. People easily, I can tell you an idea now, you get super motivated, you will do it 3-4 days. I'll give you a book to read, you will read the 10 first pages, and next. You lack the discipline. You lack the consistency.
There's a thing I read, I think last year. When Atomic Habits became a massive thing, everyone read Atomic Habits, and they talked about creating habits because, like you say, motivation comes and goes. So we need to replace motivation with discipline. And then the best entrepreneurs replace discipline with systems.
True.
Because even discipline will only last a certain amount of time. True. What's your feeling on that? Is that what you...
100%.
Okay.
You nailed it. On my podcast, I get a lot of people as well. And tell them, do you have systems? Do you have routines? And they tell me, no. It's just things happen this way. I want to feel freedom, success. It's an absolute not successful. And I can bet absolutely that person is not successful. I bet successful people like successful companies. People are like companies. There is no company that doesn't have systems, operating procedures, manuals, and to run this company successful. As humans, if you wake up the time you want, if you do whatever your mind tells you to do, you're impossible to be successful. You have your day is planned, you have a goal, your plan of the day is done, the plan of the week is done, and you execute without thinking. If I put to me, Seif, that every day I wake up in the morning, I am thinking what to do, I'm wasting my time, I'm losing my day. But I wake up like a machine. Whether people tell me you're not human or what, yes, I'm not human. But I don't waste time thinking, should I do this first or I do this now? Should I have my breakfast or I do this task or not? No, I do 1, 2, 3.
I think this is where I wonder actually if we, because we've got a corporate background, have a slight advantage. because you can't do anything at these big companies without an SOP,
100%.
right? You can't get to the toilet. You can't
100%.
request time
True.
off. There is a procedure for everything. And I wonder if people that come into entrepreneurship, or just, we don't need to call it entrepreneurship, just business ownership, without that background or without the knowledge that they should be doing that, they're a bit more flimsy, almost, like you're saying, and they think creativity is going to win over everything. And actually, if you can, my first person I ever had on this podcast, a lady called Marianne Page, she ran McDonald's for Europe for 27 years. And she said the first day at McDonald's, you will learn to cook the fries.
True.
Second day, you will learn how to teach someone to cook the fries. Because from day 2, you're developing.
True.
You need to be able to teach someone else to do it because you need to grow straight away. And there's an SOP on how, standard operating procedure, on how you cook chips. It's not chance.
True.
It happens the same way every day.
The cheese, the pickle,
Exactly.
the tomato.
It's exactly the same. They've even got the machines that help you put the exact amount on.
100%.
I think that's quite an interesting point, that actually, like you say, discipline's massively important. It beats motivation, but then you've got to put something in place.
System to it.
Yeah, okay. So what's a system that someone listening to this could put in place from tomorrow to...
It depends on everyone. Like, for example, my system, like let's say Seif, there are a couple of blocks that I have. Like, for example, I'm a massive reader. I feed my body to stay healthy, right? So let's say I feed my body 2 times a day. I'm gonna be an idiot if I don't feed my brains 2 times a day. So if I eat 2 times a day, that means I'm reading 2 times a day. It's the same. It goes this way. So one is fixed, which is before I sleep. So let's look at the blocks or the systems that I follow. I have 2 hours of personal developments per day. I develop myself in a particular area that I feel that I lack, or according to my goal. Then I have another 2 hours that I kill the most important task that will get me 1 step towards my goal. Then I have the health part, the sports. Anything outside of that, after 12. Before 12 p.m., these are my goals.
You time.
It's not my time, it's the time that I literally develop myself properly. I finish the most important things that I need to do and take care of my health.
You look at the biggest... I say the biggest entrepreneurs. When I say that, I mean the ones who have the biggest social following or share the most. I'm thinking of Hormozy, Bartlett. You can't contact them before midday, right? Because it's so important to have that time. Are you seeing a rise in mediocrity and laziness in the world today?
Of course.
How is it manifesting? How is it coming across in what you do?
Once you start comparing, you're already accepting that you're here. Social media is an amazing platform, makes you get exposed and but you need to utilize it in the proper way. There is one important statement. Success is more that you develop yourself, right? But developing yourself by scrolling is an absolute nonsense. So success is more about not consuming. It's about more of creation. Correct? So you can scroll 2 times and create 10 times. Like when you're reading a book, there is this 45-15 principle. You read for 45 minutes and then you create for 15. What did you get out of this thing? How are you going to put it into action? So the majority of the people, just like on social media or whatever, looking at the street, you're just comparing and accepting the comparison. Why the hell do you need to compare? First of all, you don't understand who you're comparing to. What part of the journey they're in. They're in absolutely totally different. The second thing, you don't know they're faking it or not, because we live in a world where fake it until you make it. So why you're comparing to something that even you don't know if it's fake or not? Just freaking create.
Do you know what? It's so funny because I think the best people we've had on the podcast all say a version of the same thing because they know. I think everyone's looking for that magic.
True.
Right? And the magic's actually in the work that you're avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to impress people by reading 52 books a year and you're taking no action, you're just wasting your time. Sean Haniff was on the podcast and he created like Logan Paul, KSI, and he literally said, I'm going to say one thing, and it's create something. Just create videos. Just could be anything. Could be you picking splinters out of your finger on TikTok. It will do more than if you just consume. And Dan Priestley sat exactly where you are now, and he said, in the next 18 months to 2 years, AI is going to get so good that you won't be able to put your phone down because it will know exactly what you want to see. So you need to make a decision today if you're going to create or consume. And I think that's massively powerful.
100%. And you know what's more interesting, or what I see these days? It's a lot of people, they try to impress, I would say poor people try to impress rich people by overspending them. Okay, so they think that by overspending them, they're impressing them. But the actual thing is to outwork them. You impress rich people by outworking them. Outworking here means you're creating. Again, not consuming. Majority of the time, the platforms, they're created for consumption. Try to get outside of the consumption pattern. Go into the creation pattern.
I completely agree. Seif, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, brother. It was an amazing. I loved the questions. First time to be asked these kind of questions. Loved it.
Brilliant.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you like these episodes, feel free to subscribe to our Healthy Hustle newsletter below, where you'll get behind the scenes information from our guests, as well as from the studio operator who helps us create these cinematic episodes. It's also full of business advice and tips, and it will help you join the community of healthy entrepreneurs.